Best small business loans for good credit without having to put down collateral, no hard credit checks, and even no interest rates. Hi, welcome into this live. Before I get started, if you're watching right now, please give me a hashtag replay if in, or a hashtag live, excuse me, if seeing it right now. If on the replay, hashtag replay so I know the time interval. Now I'm going to get right into the thick of things. So today I came out with a video about business loans for bad credit. What are the best ones available? So I'll try to link to that down below in the description, and I'll slightly touch upon that as I'm going through this list of what are the best business loans if you have good credit. And if you don't, this will be very eye-opening to you. Listen, I've spoken to so many business owners who just are outside of that good range. They're in the fair to well, or they're just in a bad credit score position, or perhaps they're in that great to excellent. And they're wondering what options are available for me. The idle loans over here, I've got approved for this amount, or I didn't get anything. What are the alternative options here? I have these expectations where I'm rate sensitive. I need to have terms that are beyond the means, and I need to have this type of a repayment. So I'm going to clarify and justify some of those things right now. Now, to have a good credit score, I mean, first of all, it takes some time to build that, or you can build it right away. It just depends on what you're paying, what type of payments you are taking on, the amount of debt, the debt to income ratio, your utilization, the amount of inquiries you have, how fast do you make those payments once you put it on your card. That's what you have to be looking at. And those are some of the problems of many of those challenges that business owners have is they don't pay things on time. They miss payments, and you wonder why your credit score goes probably from somewhere in a good, great to excellent down to a bad credit score. And so those are very determining factors. But as the market is moving nowadays, I'll let you guys in on a little tip. It's becoming less of a factor to look at your actual FICO credit score. We still need to see that, but we also want to look more thoroughly. That's what we do. We look at credit reports. We get to understand what inquiries, what's happening, how much utilization, and all of these things are a factor to helping you get business funding. Now, if you're in that good to excellent credit score range, I'm sure you're wondering, what are the possible loans? Now, the loans available for you are just about everything, especially if you have, I'd want to say, a 700 and above. 670 can be sufficient. But if you have that type of a credit score profile, you have things available to you like the SBA loans, the 7A, the 504 program, not just the IDLES. Right? We don't just look at PPP, grants, the employee retention credit, the restaurant revitalization fund, which I will get to here in a moment, but that also opens up bank lines of credits, SBA lines of credits, bank term loan options. You have alternative private lenders. You can go through more of a medium to shorter term loan solution. You have private lenders with hybrid lines of credits. You have startup/personal loans, equipment financing. Everything just opens up. But here's what I want to get into if you are in that good credit score range. And if you're not, this will help you understand what I've been saying all along. But a lot of people, they just don't listen because they hear one thing and they let it go out the other ear. And it's just, when it comes down to it, they come back to me a lot of the times and they say, well, I should have listened to what you said. I should have taken what you said more to heart. And by that point, they're kind of just far beyond, and it takes a little bit more time to have somebody get processed in whatever stage that is. So instead of looking at, hey, I'm going to get the best terms, I'm going to get the best rate, sure, you have more flexibility when you have a high enough credit profile. You also have to have the revenue, but you can say things like, well, I expect to get rates of just 5%. I'd like to have 20-year terms. And I mean, who wouldn't want to have that? And then monthly repayments? Yes. But we also have to look at the industry. We have to also look at your use of funds. we have to look and see how much gets actually approved for. So for example, if somebody is looking for working capital and they have a credit profile of about 700, or we'll say 710, and they're doing about 200,000 monthly, they're doing well over a million, over 2 million per year. So that individual is wanting working capital. They want to use it towards payroll, debt consolidation, possible marketing, growth, and expansion purposes. That will help solidify that they can get that in the first place. And so it's one thing to say, well, I want this amount, but it's a whole other thing to understand, what are my use of funds? Can I be applied to that? And then two, for working capital, especially if you're looking for an SBA loan, in a lot of cases, you won't get over 10 years. You'll probably get up to 7, if not up to 5 years, sometimes up to 10 years. But 10 years, you have to really demonstrate, like, these are the funds that I need to use for. And it also not only has to come with, I'm going to have an ROI immediately or in a long term, both. But it also has to justify the means that it's not only just 110% for COVID relief. And I still have a lot of business owners till this day who just primarily want to use it for that. And it would work, believe me, but it may cause a reduction. And here's also where people get less. If you're cash flow negative, or if it's on a decrease, not exactly your, showing in your bank statements, the remaining bank balance at the end of the month, the amount of deposits, what are those tax returns showing profitability wise, that helps determine how much you will get approved for, as well as much more. But if you are on a decline, you say you have 1 month this, and now you have 200,000, and then you have 100,000, and then you're at 80,000, and that doesn't sufficiently show. And then a lot of the times, this is why you don't get approved for funding. It's because of that. And again, I blame the EIDL loans a lot because they are very good. Like, they've done so much good for everyone. But, most people are caught up in survival money, and that's usually what it's used for. That's the primary use of funds. And I'm not saying it's not used for anything else, but that's usually statistically proven facts that EIDL loans are used for those primary uses. Now, I have a few notes here that I want to go through. So if you're in that good credit score range, I already more or less showed you, or I'm going to show you in a bit on screen where you guys can go and what the expectations are. But if you're in that range, it does open up so many more possibilities. And now working backwards from that, before I go into showing you a few things. So if you're underneath, let's say like a 670, probably in the fair range, somewhere between 600 and 650, up to 670 in some cases, then what you are going to be given is a little bit not as limited, but it is. You may not qualify for a bank term loan solution. You don't qualify for an SBA loan. Let's just put it out there. Even with stellar revenue, I want to say this. I've spoken to so many business owners recently who just don't have the minimum of, let's say, 650 you can get by if you're getting up to 350,000 for the use of working capital, payroll, part of that being COVID relief that can help with payroll, debt consolidation, and other purposes. If you're just off by a little bit, yes, your revenue will not make up for that. Your time in business will not. Your FICO score is a big determinant because we want to see not only that credit score, but we want to look even deeper to see what that report history is showing us. And then in that case, you'd want to have a FICO SPSS score. Business liquid credit is very important to have, especially if you just have the minimum of a 650 and even a 680. And if you can't provide that, and we'd have to look at other details. Sometimes you can override that 600 and that 155 FICO SPSS score, but you have to have stellar details over here. You can't be on a decline cash flow wise, or cash flow, and you have to provide sufficient revenue, profitability, and demonstration that you can make those repayments. And then the actual use of funds goes all into that. So there's so much more than just saying, I want the best terms, I want the best rates, get me a monthly repayment, and we can go from there. I'm looking for 30-year terms. It just won't work in your specific use of funds. That's more used for real estate. I want 15 years. If it's a type of equipment, perhaps purchasing an existing business in some cases, but you're looking at more of a range of up to 7 years or so for working capital, up to 10 years in some cases, but it's the exception, not for everyone. So you have to really think about, is it worth me if I'm only going to get 7 years and I'm going to have this $4,000 monthly repayment here? And I have another option where I don't have to take on that much time, but I see the monthly repayment over here would then be about $10,000 plus. I see the huge difference. So somebody telling me that they need funds for growth and expansion, it's better justified that they see 4,000 here, but then they see 10,000 here. They go, let me just go do the 10,000 because I'm going to grow my profitability. My ROI for that short term, 12 to 24 months, and I'm going to get into that in a moment, is much better than me going into the 2 to 5 year term. But I can't get more than 2 to 5 years. Oh, well, I can't even get 7 years. Well, I got 7 years, but I'm paying this amount for these 7 years that I really don't need. So that person who's in a situation where they need money for growth and expansion is much easier going to be justifying that I can take on at least 18 months, over a year, but nothing under. I want to take at least 18 months, maybe 24 months if I qualify. That's in a lot of cases rare for some of these short-term loans. Then let me do it. If I pay $10,000 and over, so be it. I take what I can get. I'm going to be growing my revenue, ROIs. It's not such a big deal. But for people who are in a position where, hey, I need to make payroll, I need to pay my bills, I'm in a situation where I'm not in the growth and expansion. I usually am, but I don't need the funds for that, or a part of it will go for it. But their main primary thought over here is, I just need to recover from the impact that COVID has hit us with. And I'm in your position. I understand what you are going through. It's not easy. I myself have been impacted with my multiple businesses. I have people reaching out to me every single day via email, text messages, my messenger, trying to call me sporadically at any time of the day, but I don't just answer like that. And I have to wear multiple hats in my business just like you do. I'm a one-man show right now, baby. I have to work for myself as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. I put those hats on every day. So there's a time and a place where we can talk, but don't expect a conversation or a quick email every single second, because like I said, I got content, I got this I have to put out for the marketing and advertising, I have to do this budgeting over here, I have to focus on that aspect. And then there is outsourcing, which I have done with some other businesses, but just keep that on the back of your mind. Now, you have to understand that if I can get 12 to 24 months here, it's shorter term, sure, but the rate, you're getting one that's much better as opposed to somebody over here who has a well credit score, they have a bad credit score, and bad credit scores, I'll get into that in a moment. I spoke about that in today's video that I released, so I'll try to link that down below, but there should be content for you guys. If you're just watching for the very first time, there is a business loan questionnaire you can fill out down below in the description. Simply fill it out and it'll land in my email inbox, where then I will analyze, evaluate it, and give you a proper response back on what you can qualify for, your best funding option and options very thoroughly. A lot of this doesn't even need to be a conversation over the phone, like a lot of people have expectations for. And sometimes there's a little piece of this, a little piece of that I may be helpful towards this, but in a lot of cases, I will respond back to that email. You can go ahead and go get started right away. I break things down very thoroughly for you, and I deal with hundreds upon hundreds, I'm not kidding you, per day of people. So I understand and I remember everybody. I try to do my best, and I'm going to be there for you every single step of the way as your broker/agent. Now, when you're talking about the 12 to 24 month time frame, some of you guys probably just tuned out. Some of you guys know don't qualify for that. But you have to listen very carefully, because I have people to this day who come back to me. A lot will thank me, but the majority say, I missed it. I should have just done this instead. I got into debt, paying $4,000, which was better than the $12,000 or so I was having to pay over here. But now I have to pay this off in 5 years, paying more towards the interest instead of the principal and the fees and some of the stuff that's included over here. And I go, well, I made you well aware of that. I mean, you only understand your business better than I do. I've worked for businesses where I've been able to budget and see what they're doing, as in the logistics and the business management role that I had previously. So I understand all of this. And so that, again, the 12 to 24 months, as opposed to getting something with 2 to plus years, let's say, for example, you do have 670 and above in a FICO credit score, even a little bit less than that. that may qualify you for a bank term loan solution online, as opposed to going physically into a bank because we can drop some of those things, then you have to ask, like, what is those funds going towards? And so really get to understand that if my ROI won't be profitable until 2+ years from now, then it may make more sense if you're in that expansion phase, if you're in that growth mindset. But if you're an individual who's struggling with cash flow, then a line of credit would be the best solution. That's immediately the first thought that comes into my mind is when somebody's dealing with COVID relief. I've dealt with these problems. What do? I go get a line of credit because I can use the funds whenever I need. And what a lot of people have problems with is actually justifying that they don't get enough funds, when in fact, you don't actually even need so much more. I tell people that all the time. I spoke to an individual the other day on TikTok, literally with a whole bunch of people in that live video. He goes, well, I needed 250,000. So I guess I had to reframe the question. Do you really need 250,000 all at once? Would you be able to take a little bit here, maybe 150,000, come back after you pay off about 50% of that and then get the rest? They go, yeah, I don't need the whole amount. So what did they do? They listened to what I had to say and they went to go apply that. And so a lot of business owners are like, well, I got vendors I got to pay. I got to do this for inventory. You don't understand. I need the 450,000 all at once. But when I really look at their business and I really get to understand that, I go, you have a time frame for this, but you're focused on over here. The 450,000, that's actually going to put a lot more strain on you if you got it all at once, because you're not applying it the way it needs to be. And then certain sectors are not giving you the right ROI. And so you have to understand those things. Those are very crucial, and a lot of people just neglect that. So understand that with a good, I'm going to get into the share screen in a moment. And if anybody has any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to voice them to me in the comments if I didn't say that already. You guys are more than open to communicate this with me. Just give me a little hello. Let me know where you are tuning in from. How's your day going? My day's been going well. I've been working with a lot of business owners today. Went through my regular routine that I always do. And, something that I'm always thankful for is prayer. That's what I do just about every day. And I become much closer to the man up above and the people who have passed already, and my closest family and friends, more so my family. But it's something that I practice every single day, especially before I go to bed. And hopefully you guys at the end of the day, before you guys go and sleep, you guys say something that you're thankful for, you're grateful for, because we're not always guaranteed tomorrow. We're not always guaranteed to be around our loved ones and our friends. A lot of you will take that for granted. I'm not saying you specifically, but I did some of that. I took a lot of that for granted. Being the oldest of two, I have a younger brother. We're still about 6 years apart. I'm 29, he's 23. But, that's something that I've picked up a lot, especially with the loss of my dog recently. It's just my motivator. And I want to question you guys. Let me know in the comment section, what motivates you to go to business every single day? What is your why for why you do this? One of my biggest ones that I've realized just recently, and this just happened, is the loss of my dog, my brother, my family dog, the closest person I was ever close to. Passed away after 15 years. It's hard to even bring it up. I said I wouldn't talk about this. But very briefly, he passed, and that just hurt. We had to go put him down. He was suffering with being able to breathe. He had already kidney problems in the later stages of kidney disease. Short little poodle mixed with a toy poodle and a Pekingese, excuse me. And he's my drive every day. When I talk about what drives me today, I could have told you a few other things too, and they are on top of this, but my primary, my dog, because he saw me at my weak points. He saw me when I needed somebody to come to. He saw me when I wasn't going out and seeing friends at all. He was there for me, to comfort me. He was there to show me unconditional love. And the bond was very inseparable. So I thank him every day. Here's a very telling thing before I get going. Sorry, I'm going on a tangent. But one day, I was in the beginning of the grieving stage, and this was just about a day after, and I'm still get like that sometimes. I have to separate myself away from everybody, and I sometimes cry. I'm not going to lie, I cry when I think about him deeply. I go into that, and I just like I'll be in my room or I'll just be away from everybody, and I don't want to show them. But literally the day or two after that, I was laying on the couch where we usually have our dog, Gizmo. He sits right next to me a lot of the time, and I just have him sit there. He'll probably take a nap at night when we're watching TV or something on my phone. And I was having a very hard time. And so I was able to just smell him. I literally had a whiff of his shirt that he would always have on, like the old dog smell. That was him. And then it was to my right. And then the next day, literally on my left, where he would always lay next to me. And I was like, yeah, I mean, that just doesn't happen. He was probably coming back to tell me everything's okay. Anyways, sorry about getting into that. I just wanted to touch briefly upon it. But can you help somebody with a 550 credit score? Absolutely. And it just, excuse me, it just depends on other details, like revenue wise, your time in business. Once I know some of those things, I can, excuse me, I had a cereal, some milk. Then I can apply that towards the service you will qualify for. With a 550 credit score, that can be possible, but I do want to put this out there and not spend too much time on this. With a less than 600 FICO credit score, those are the profiles that I usually have a hard time not getting an offer in a sense, but absolutely taking what they get, because you are in a battle of, hey, I actually want 3 years and 4 years, and it doesn't work that way. Anything underneath a 600 FICO credit score, if even your revenue is like 60, 70,000, 100,000 a month, perhaps we can get you approved for more because you're showing consistency in cash flow. At times, in this point, collateral may not be required. Then your 550 FICO credit score is limiting you in terms. If I see that 550, I'm saying about 4 to 6 months, at most 6 months. And would you be happy with that? Let me know in the comment section. And when I ask most people, it's a no, because I know that for a fact, you don't have a certain ROI coming up within the next month or so. You can't take that funding and tell me you're going to make any consistent ROI out of that. It might be very little, but it won't justify the repayment when it comes down to those 6 months. So most people, they just back away from that. Now, a quick thing before I go into the share screen here. So when you have that good to excellent credit profile, it just opens up the whole floodgates to everything. And what I recommend, let's say, for example, we're in the growth and expansion for use of funds, and it's primarily used for that. You may have it for some type of a COVID relief, payroll situation, debt consolidation, etc. But it's primarily over here, we're saying 75% of that. Then what I recommend a lot of the times are these shorter term loan solutions. It's a very much given that those are, in my thought, the best way to go. Even if you have a good to excellent credit profile, you have 150, 200,000, 300,000 per month, doesn't necessarily mean that an SBA loan is the best solution for you. And a lot of people get scrutinized and they get declined going through there. So if it's for growth and expansion, you have a good credit profile, even if it's a bad credit profile, then I would be looking at those shorter term loan solutions, especially if you know the ROI. If you're in a position where you're expanding and you're like, I need a new warehouse, I just got a new warehouse, I'm trying to add a new roof to it, I'm trying to bring some inventory from another building, or I'm purchasing this here, where you won't see an immediate ROI within that time frame. And if it makes sense with your funding details, then we will investigate looking at something with 2+ years in mind, 5+ years, 10+ years. But it just has to all make sense. And so where I get a lot of people who have that, let's say, a 700 and above FICO credit score for a more shorter term loan solution, and with the revenue usually being 50,000 and above, with at least 2+ years of business, 12 to 24 months usually seems to be the place to go. Okay, got you. Yeah, so I just have to understand more of your funding details. Have you filled out a questionnaire on my site? So that's what a time frame looks like from 12 to 24 months. If you have at least a 700, 680 in some cases, but 700 plus 50,000 per month in revenue, no exception, with 2+ years of business. It's become harder over time to get you into those terms if you don't have those types of criteria. Now, anything underneath that, perhaps 7 to an 11 month time frame, or if you have a terrible credit score, if we're looking at 600 and below again, hey, 4 to 6 months, you have no leverage. Either you take this or we're not wasting any more energy or time. I can't justify. I've tried to show you and share with you. I've expended enough energy. I can't, at a point I have to give you hey, I can't help you anymore. The ball is in your court. You have everything you need. If this doesn't work, let's work on improving your FICO credit score. Let's work on building better business credit. But people work around. There's always somebody who's like, there's a workaround around that. And it really is not. So you just can't just try to avoid all of that. Now, let me get into the share screen here because I think I've put up enough time and I've gone through all the points. Let me quickly look at here. I have my paper that I wrote down some pointers. So I spoke about the FICO credit scores, the ranges, how it kind of goes from the top to the bottom, as in the availability of a service, what you would qualify for. Good credit score doesn't necessarily mean longer terms or better rates, not in all cases. And one thing too that I get a lot are idle loan applicants, whether you've received or not. You're in the increase, you're in the reconsideration phase, however that is. Those of you out there who primarily are looking for some type of relief, some type of survival money, which is usually what I get a lot, then it is a bit more difficult to justify qualifying for all these other SBA options because they want to see working capital. They want to see some type of growth expansion being applied if they give you this funding. It's not just solely for survival purposes. So that's a part of the reason why a lot of people get declined is because they don't show sufficient cash flow. It's on a decrease, justifying you getting that just for this amount of terms. You may need that, but when I'm looking at a profile and I go with the lenders and the underwriters, I go, they can't get 5 years. That won't happen. So instead of getting them a 5-year lump sum, how about they just go and get a line of credit? Oh, well, they already have one. Can we add another one? If so, how much can we get them? Oh, we can collateralize it to get them more. All right. So we can work from there. So there's a lot of misconceptions around this. Now let me get into the share screen. And while this is loading, if you are currently waiting for me to email you back, that is on hold. I will get back to you guys. There's a lot of questionnaires that I have not gone through yet, and I still need to. But watch this content and you'll know everything you know, and this will be much of a faster way to get through and start your application if you qualify. So let me open up the share screen. Some of you, most of you, have actually seen this. So this is a company here called David Allen Capital Inc. that I work for as an agent. I'm also a broker / agent, by the way. And this is where you can get up to 2 million incredibly fast funding, even up to 25,000 same day instant approval through their Bank Breezy program, and even up to 100,000 in a line of credit that is at this moment unsecured, meaning you don't have to provide any type of collateral whatsoever. And there are collateral-based solutions. A lot of this I'll try to mention in these questionnaires, and I'm always updating more information so I can always find out how to give you the most. But when the big banks can't help you, yes, we can. You can get incredibly fast capital, customer finance, and payment processing. Quick funding, it's up to 2 million. And I'll get into some of the details in a moment, but everything you need to know about here is down below in the description. So make sure you refer to that to get started. One stop, you will get the best offers, free application, no obligation. So if you have somebody out there like I did yesterday, they said, hey, I had somebody tell me that I had to pay for an application fee of $300 or so. And I thought, who are you talking to? Can you send me their username? They sent me their username. Not a legitimate source. So if you're having to pay for an application fee, question that. There are moments where that is a legitimate thing, but not in all cases, especially with business loans. You have to be very protective of that. When the big banks can't say no, when they say no, we say yes to you guys. Incredibly fast business capital, funds that are in your bank as soon as this week. Even I said earlier, same day instant approval services as well. So let me show you that right now. We have an up to 25,000 same day instant approval program here with the Bank Breezy, where you have to be doing at least 5,000 plus per month in bank revenue, have a business checking account, 6 months in business, a 450 plus FICO credit score, and then all industries are included. You can get more funds when you need them. Absolutely, payment history will earn you more. I've seen that so many cases. Receive funding again, add-on funds are available, personalized account manager. If you need more than 25K, we have our up to 2 million service, as I just alluded to earlier. And this is where you go through. With only a time in business of 4 months, you can reside anywhere in the US. If you're Puerto Rico, Canada, or elsewhere, I'll try to leave some information below. A personal credit score, all we ask for is a 500. So even if you have good, listen here, even if you have good, great, excellent credit, I have excellent credit. I didn't always have that. I've had to build it. I had to drop points. Not had to like literally, but I dropped points because of me not paying attention. One of my most recent trips to New York, I had paid too much on a card and I had gone over my utilization. And so that dinged me down, and I had a few other things, some other inquiries, and I had to get it back up. But I worked to do that. Many of you guys just sit out where you are comfortably and go, well, if there's bad credit loans out there, then I can get one. But you don't understand that with a bad credit loan, with everything else looking good, you probably will get at most 6 months. That is the reality of this. You're not getting those 2 years, those 30 years, those idle loans, absurd approval amounts. And this is why when you come to decide, a lot of you guys just don't really, and that's my part. My part is to educate you. And whoever hasn't in the past, I'll take that off their shoulders and I'll blame them for doing that. But when I hear people get outrageous amounts for idle loans and they're looking for an alternative, I have to put down the gauntlet and say, hey, you probably got 500,000 there, but over here, based off of your annual gross, you're looking at getting at about 100,000, at least to start. And I go, well, you could start with 100,000, and then if you wanted 300,000 in total, then we can look at refinancing after you pay off about 50% of that and then come back to get more. If you don't like how any of that sounds, fine. Go build business credit. Go start credit stacking. You don't have that? Well, you know, when I speak to so many people today and I help them understand business credit, business credit, if you're not working on that, you're hugely missing out on the back end of getting funds. Hugely. And getting these credit cards that give you access to those higher limits, and perhaps it's a higher interest over the time than opposed to a business line of credit over here on this side through a traditional bank, online bank, through a private lender. But you have to understand how this is all built. And Rome was not built in a day. I know you don't have those expectations. You never did when you started your business or you acquired a business. That's why a lot of people do acquire businesses, is because they don't want to have to deal, if they did it once, they don't want to have to go through it again. And there are other reasons, because it's already cash flow positive. And they just have to add their ownership to it. FICO credit score looks good, revenue looks well, time in business, they had 5+ years in it. And you wonder why they get the funding that they get, as opposed to someone over here. If you're doing less than 400,000, over 240,000 usually and above, better. I've seen the best. Like, no people ending up in collections, nobody complaining about why I didn't receive what I didn't get, and it's like a mariachi band. Like, we got to start like playing the guitar a little bit more. I don't want that to happen. And I've had to deal with that, unfortunately. But, a lot of people they don't want to understand what I have to give them and take what I give them to heart. Not saying you don't, because I've spoken to many of you who just understand it and go, oh, Michael, that makes sense. Now, what could I do to move forward? Great question. Boom. So if you're on a good side of things, it makes it so much more easier. But if you're just battling for the lowest price, you will always have a problem with that. It's just the reality. Let me go back into the screen. And it's just some tough love to you guys. Like I give to my younger brother. If I came on here in a different manner for the whole duration of it, it would not really click with you guys a lot. It wouldn't help you guys take the kind of action or the inspiration you guys need. So monthly revenue, in this circumstance, we need 15,000 a month in revenue. And if you're not doing 15,000, we have our up to 25,000, 5,000 only in monthly bank revenue. Industries, over 700 industries I've served personally for a fact throughout my whole journey doing this. How do we provide compared to our providers? Faster capital, you get funding in days, as opposed to most banks, which is a no. And if you're going the credit card advance route, obviously no. Value cash flow more than your credit score. That's right. We won't even look at collateral. So if you have no collateral, or if you do, but you don't want to give up any kind of real estate, equipment, inventory, stocks and bonds, and so forth, accounts receivables, or you're in a position where I don't have enough equity, and you're saying to yourself, I have a property, but I don't really want to give it up. I don't want to take that out of that just to get the funding amount that I want. Let me take what I can get. Work with that first. And this is why a lot of people in a COVID relief or in a I'm trying to survive type of mindset don't get the most amount of funds. It is because of that, because it's not proven that their business will produce an ROI immediately for the most part. And it's just used for that. So demonstrating to myself with the personal and business relationship I have with my private lenders that are the best. I'm actually saying this factually, that these are the best lenders that I deal with out there, bar none. Underwriter team, bar none. But what it comes down to is just shifting up here how you think about things. And so value cash flow more than credit, absolutely. And what I mean by that, consistent revenue on an increase, projections are better weighed than looking at profitability of a business. Like SBA loans, they require you to have at least 10% profitability showing. And over here, we don't look at profitability as much as we look at just your annual gross sales, and we see what you're doing in monthly revenue. We look at the monthly bank statements. We look at your amount of deposits. How is cash flow looking like? Daily bank balances, starting, ending bank balances. So value that more than the banks. Banks don't value that as much, of course not, because they're asking for tax returns and more. Credit card advances, similar. Bad credit, okay. Only 500 FICO credit score is needed. Yes, no for the banks. Yes for credit card advances, depending on where you go. Unsecured, no collateral is required. Absolutely. You don't have to give up any kind of property to us to get the funding that you want. And I'll get into that in a moment about it. And then no from the banks. Of course, they're going to require that. And no from credit card advances there too. A minimal amount of paperwork, absolutely. And I'll get into a story in just a moment. No for the banks, no for credit card advances. Simple presentation of the total cost of capital, yes, no, and no for the other two. Very straightforward. I'm going to show you a few things and then we'll round this up. I'm glad that I'm not at about an hour because I've done that before. And I'll let you guys go. I know your time is very valuable and I still have to go fill out some people's questionnaires. I may hop on TikTok after this if you guys want to meet me there. And then I'll go fill out some questionnaire forms. But please be patient if you're currently waiting for that. Some profiles, if you know who you are, I've spoken to you, may take a little bit longer because I have to number crunch and I have to move some things around and I have to put this here and there so I can help you better understand what you'd qualify for. But once that email is together, I'm telling you, once you go to that email, all you got to do literally is look through the qualifications, the description, how it works. If there's numbers broken down, check that out. And then you have an application. You can also have review videos I've done about this, about these banking solutions, these private lenders, these brokerages. Once you're there, you're solid. You just have to go, apply, get started, Boom, you're well on your way. No questions asked. For the most part, a lot of people do that. Now, I had an individual just recently, and I've had multiple people in this same situation, doing about 300,000, 350,000 a month, getting approved for about 600 to 700,000 because of their monthly revenue. And in this cash flow positive, they're on a projection wise or upwards. And average wise, it helps that it's bigger than their lowest monthly revenue because we can assess that and then get you up to about 75% to 200% of that. And you only qualify for about 10 to 15% of your annual gross sales. So please be reasonable about that. So 600 to 700,000 approved for, but did not want to supplement extra documentation. They did not want to supply a recent tax return. They did not want to supply their year-to-date financials, their current year-to-date, not last year's to date, and that meaning the profit and loss statement as well as the balance sheet. And I see all these things. I know how these look like. And when people come to me and they give me their bank statements, and I go, who is this person kidding? Why are they trying to alter their bank? I could tell without even being sent to the lender right away because they have their own system. But when I speak to you and you give me a whole different proposition over there, so you got to understand that let's do this with the less amount of energy wasted. Let's put the least amount of energy, because put yourself in my position. I have hundreds, like I said in the beginning of this, I have hundreds of people I deal with a day. Each and every one of them I deal with differently. Not everybody gets the same attention as someone else. A profile might be getting better attention because they're ready to get funding. And one person over here needs funding in about a month. One person over here is just battling back and forth with their lowest offer. And I'm like, I've given up, not given up, but like, hey, come on. Like, you know what I mean? So think about, I'm putting myself in your position because I've been in your position. No matter what type of funding you're looking for, the amount of funding you're looking for, because I've gotten funding for my own businesses and I know how this works. Having nothing, nada, no income on a monthly basis for months, to then picking up in business where I was doing over 5,000, 10K, 20K, 30K, 40, 50K. It's absolutely possible for each and every one of you, but we have to start somewhere. And I wish I would have had somebody who could tell me straight, somebody who can be calm about things, but then raise their tonality when it's needed. And that's why I want to present to you guys this. Back onto the share screen, and then I will recap and we will get going. Now, there's also a line of credit option here, and all of this will be down below in the description. At this moment, with our program here, you can get up to 100,000. Now, there are more lines of credit programs. This isn't the only one. There are more where you can get up to 250,000, 350,000 and above. Once you're going over usually 250,000, we have to take some type of collateral and assess how much we can actually get you for the use of your funds. A lot of people, they think they need the most amount, when in fact, 55,000 of a line of credit would have been more sufficient enough than to get you 300,000 and you gave up collateral. Well, when 55,000 comes and you keep paying it off, and then now you can get another additional 20,000 on top of that, and then another 10,000 on top of it. Now you're at 100,000. You don't actually even need more. Then that's the way to go. But a lot of people just don't know how to use it, or they abuse it. So how does a revolving business line of credit work? You can receive an approval up to 100,000. Take funds out as you need, automatically weekly repayments, new draws, and a revolving limit. Qualifications, they are very simple. They are 1 year in business, anywhere in the United States you may reside, Puerto Rico, Canada. I'll have some information down below for my Canadians out there and my Puerto Ricans. 550 plus personal FICO credit score, and 15,000 plus per month in revenue. And if you're not doing that, there are options there. Now, what I want to make clear before I round up here, I've had a lot of people recently starting an application. I just had individuals recently who I just gave them the questionnaire response back. I don't know why you're applying for the wrong service. You obviously saw my email, but you did not take the time. You only wanted to see what you wanted to see. So when these questionnaires are submitted back to you, very humbly, appropriately, take the time to go through it thoroughly. Take it like it's a contract, but it's not. You're going to want to take the time to read it. And in contracts, let me be honest, a lot of people just look for the signature. They go, oh, where's my I'll initial here. I'll initial here and I'll initial there. Take the time to actually go through this very thoroughly. Uh, so just to recap, good credit scores, more services on the table. Bad credit scores, less services, less leverage. You're not going to get 12 to 24 months. You're not going to, in most cases, get 2+ years unless it's an idle loan. Again, the idle loans can be a huge problem for this side when a lot of people don't understand how private lending works. So I'm doing my best to clarify that. Bad credit scores, really, you got to work on those, and I'll leave a video down below for you guys to fix your FICO credit score. And never give up. Keep fighting. Keep fighting the good fight. Keep showing up to these lives because they are well worth your time. They're your bread and your butter. And if you're not tuning into these, maybe it's your first time, and if you see me say, hey, I'm going live, show up. I'm not expecting you to comment. Just show up and expect that there will be a good outcome, whether that is this moment. And you can't always attach yourself to the funding amount. You have to detach yourself from that and say, what could I qualify for right now? When people go, I didn't get the $350,000 that I wanted, I don't want funding, and what can I do in this situation? And there are some circumstances. But when you're already in that fight mode, I have to question people, like, do you really need to use those funds all at once? No. Well, let's start off at 100,000 and work from there. So I guess I'll give this about another minute if anybody has any questions, comments, or concerns. And I said I will be flipping over to the TikTok channel. So if you guys want to go there for a moment, and I will get started. Yeah, there are other services, by the way. Lump sums are not the only one. Lines of credits, business credit building, all that stuff I'll leave down below for you guys to understand how to get started. Hi, Bardwin. How are you doing? Did I submit? I thought I responded back to your questionnaire. Okay. Yeah, let me look through it more. But I thought I responded back. See, sometimes we get yeah, if it's reasonable. I mean, what you're getting, if you haven't started the application, that's what I would do first and then assess what you should take or not. But what I give you guys is about a ballpark range. See, when I get people who come to me and they say, should I take the funding? That already tells me you don't know why you're really using your funds or what you're using your funds towards. And that I can't get in the way of. I can say, hey, if you have a growth and expansion set up, and this is what will happen, it's the benefits greater than the repayment of what you'll be paying back in that time, then you can do it. Got you. Okay. Thanks for clarifying that. Yeah, and continue to build your business credit profile because that will open you up for the back end and on the front end of getting these loans. And without that, a lot of people have been declined. Got you. And I'm sure you know what will happen when you buy that product, ROI wise, and so forth. So this is an understanding of, hey, if I get this product or all these different products that I need, my ROI will do this for me. And if you only got 6 months, in a moment. So if you only had those 6 months and you bought new product, but those products are going to be sitting on the shelf, collecting dust or barely getting anything, doesn't contribute to your overall ROI, then it almost feels like a failure because in that sense, your repayment just doesn't make much sense to you. I hope that makes sense to you and everybody else you're watching. I know all this stuff because I've worked for businesses where I've done this, not only my own, but before when I was working the whole 9 to 5. I don't work 9 to 5. I get to choose, but that became something I had to work on. I didn't just get it given to me. So when people go, oh, well, you haven't emailed me back. Well, have you tuned into any of my lives to understand why? No, you're just crying about something that you're not listening to, you're not paying attention to. If you were to pay attention to it, you would probably already been gotten funding. It's that fast. Like when you fill out literally a questionnaire form, all you have to do is fill it out, go to the thank you page, boom. From there, you can get started for the most part. I'm going to try to add a few more options like SBA related. The reason I didn't put the SBA loan in there is because too many people would, and they would just be wasting their time. They think, oh, they hear SBA, oh, they click there, but they realize that they don't qualify. So what I'm going to do, well, I didn't want to do that. I'll probably create a separate page for that. So I may have a button on that thank you page that then takes people to a quick quiz that I've already put together. I just have to move some things around. And then once it gets you to that quiz, you fill it out. And as opposed to taking you to a page where you have to submit some details before you get your results, I may just leave that blank. Still iffy on that. Because I just don't want you guys to go from the SBA button to an SBA video, and then you try to go and apply underneath that video, have a link. It just, a lot of you wouldn't qualify. Let's just put it that way. Yes, and SBA loans are hard, Bardwin, exactly. They are not by any means easy to get at all. You have to have sufficient cash flow, period. If your cash flow is going down, it doesn't help your case. Even if you have great credit, time in business, like they look at all three: cash flow, collateral, credit. There's three of these: cash flow, collateral, credit. Cash flow only, private lenders don't require collateral, but they look at cash flow primarily, monthly revenue deposits. Okay, now you have collateral. All right, now we can go the SBA route, or we can do some type of a bank term loan solution, line of credit, if so. All right, so then three, now we have credit. So credit can really much help if you want to look at a personal loan / startup loan, but you don't have any of these three. You may have one. Usually most people have one of those three. And if you don't have, you're in a category. And so many people, they come back to me and they go, so you're telling me I don't qualify for anything. Not even the PayPal working capital, not even in the Square capital would you qualify. But go work on your business credit. But no, go work on your business credit. And then come back to me in a month's time. Because I have people do that every day. Oh, in a month's time, yeah, I have 5 net 30s and I have, these vendors and I'm reporting about 2 trade lines, and in 60 days, now I'm more eligible. Now I've built funding on the back end. I have these trade lines. I will try to, Bardwin, but what I recommend you do is make sure you go through your email again very thoroughly. Go find that. I think I might have sent you a text. I thought I filled out your questionnaire. Nice. Yeah, those are good. Capital One. There's a lot of advantages to having business credit cards, personal business credit cards, the leverage you can get, the types of limits, type of interest, and so forth, which you can apply them to. Yeah, and I only say that because I have a busy schedule. I'm not going to try to go through all my emails. I have a few clients right now who I have to go fill out their questionnaire forms, and those are priority number 1. So if you're in here watching, I will get back to you. And then I'm actually going to go to TikTok in a moment, and then I'm going to try to finish that, hopefully before 3 o'clock today. But thank you guys for your time. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to voice them to me down below in the description. For all material, it'll be there. Go ahead and start your application. Questionnaire down below. Thank you page. Get started. Excuse me, no questions asked. And a lot of this doesn't need to be a phone call. To be honest with you, I speak to business owners a lot. I just had an individual the other day cancel their appointment with me. And legitimately, they may have had a reason. They told me they did. But just before, I was waiting and rescheduled for next week, and that might then turn into the next week. So a lot of the times I don't give people that opportunity anymore because, hey, well, you weren't punctual enough over here. Unless it really mattered and it made that much sense. But hey, I got my things to do. I'm not just another financial consultant. You just call in a center and you can just get my attention anytime you want. This is about being punctual as much as it is about just working on your discipline, working on your profile. So that will conclude everything from me. Hopefully you guys got a lot of value out of it. If you guys have not subscribed yet, please go ahead and do so. and click that bell notification icon so you do not miss any future videos I will be coming out with. And if you got value, please give it a thumbs up. Share it with other people out there, friends, family, people you just don't know who really needed the lowdown on an education on this, because you go around YouTube, you go around blog posts probably more or less, but they're not as up to date in the marketplace as what's happening right now. And that's what you need to know first and foremost. So that is everything for me. Take care.